mortgage fraud moving in?
Income he can make.
We're undercover, hearing the pitch.
They will do some documentation showing that you guys are making more.
You're a home buyer, somebody or a young person looking to buy a home, you need a bit of a reset.
There is a possibility on the other side of this that inflation could actually be quite low.
Welcome back to Real Estate Mindset. Today's video is going to be absolutely bonkers. Now, the data is in, and mortgage fraud on all fronts is absolutely skyrocketing, which is generally a red flag of an impending crash because people start getting more and more desperate to continue to keep the music going. And today we're going to go over multiple different fraud schemes that are going on right now in the mortgage industry. Now, you guys, the thing is when it comes to fraud and when it comes to applying for a mortgage, you always want to be not just honest, you want to be forthcoming with your loan officer, because remember, a lot of these loans that you're getting, FHA, VA, USDA, these are government-backed loans. So if you lie on those loans, if you lie about your occupancy, if you lie about your income, if you lie about your debt payments, you guys, that's a felony. That could be a felony. And fraud doesn't have a statute of limitations until it has been discovered. So my point is don't fall victim into this anxiety that's going around the industry to basically cut corners and to keep the party going. We need the housing market to bust. The fact that fraud is going up in all departments is another sign that things are not okay right now in the housing market. And if you guys find value in this video, if you want me to stay on top of following mortgage fraud, and if you want to help out the channel, hit like, shoot some comments below, share with me your insights. And I want to give a big shout out to Jason Walters. If you guys need any editing at all, and his info will be linked in my description, reach out to Jason Walter. He has a YouTube channel, and I absolutely love his editor. Jason, big shout out to you. I appreciate you. But either way, guys, I hope you enjoy. Now, where we're going to start is the People's Network, or bnnbreaking.com. And the reason I want to start here is because fraud is happening now at the title company level. One of the things you don't want to see, you guys, is you don't want to see fraud from title companies. Title companies are supposed to protect the transaction. They're supposed to make sure things are okay. However, as you're about to find out, title companies are now involved in fraud, and Fannie Mae is now completely banning certain title companies because they have been exposed for fraud, and that is going to continue to happen. I mean, look at all the data breaches that we've had at Mr. Cooper and other, Loan Depot. Something really bad is happening right now behind the scenes in the mortgage market. I'm telling you that right now. We're probably all going to figure it out at the same time, but I'm going to tell you guys right now that there are multiple areas of fraud going on. And one thing that I'm not going to cover on this video is what I believe is the scam and fraud going on the regular when it comes to the transactions of new homes. So I'm not going to cover that today, but understand that, from you've seen my past videos, there's a lot going on there. But anyways, guys, let's go back into this article and see exactly what this title company has been doing and why Fannie Mae has blacklisted them for mortgage fraud. Scandal rocks title insurance company, fraudulent activities exposed. Undercover, the scandal involving Riverside Abstract and Madison Title. They are blacklisted now from Fannie Mae for fraudulent activities. So let's just see exactly, what happened, guys. So when we go down to the article and when we read the heat of the matter, at the core of this controversy lies a memo from Fannie Mae's Deputy General Counselor Jeff Goodman, which cast a long shadow over the future of Riverside Abstract and Madison Title. According to Goldman, Fannie Mae has decided to blacklist these insurers due to their involvement in a series of fraudulent real estate closing, masterminded by Mr. Drillman. These activities condemned by the Department of Justice. I mean, so far, guys, it's just so hard for me to believe that people would just throw away their career. They would just throw that away to make some quick money. I mean, when are people going to start realizing life isn't all about money? And I will argue, if anyone asks me the meaning of life, it's love. It's love. Changed my mind. Now, what this was, guys, is this involved inflating property prices. So you're welcome, consumers. Here's just another reason for all of the FUMO, all of the fear of missing out, all of the price run up, also fraud. So, I mean, my gosh, I mean, consumers got annihilated, especially if you purchased in the wrong times. Now, they did this through the creation of bogus documents to secure heftier loans than would normally be permissible. So say they would only qualify for 300,000, they would include some documents probably regarding the appraisal, and instead of 300,000, they would get 400,000. Now, while Madison Title was denying any misconduct, asserting its adherence to principles of transparency and integrity, however, Riverside Abstract's silence is the finding. And now Abstract Title is basically doing a sell to Avery amid swirling rumors about its barred status to Fannie Mae. So they're out of here. Riverside Abstract is like, all right, you caught us. We are out. Does someone want to buy our troubled company? If anyone wants to buy it, here, please buy it because we got caught. At least that's how I'm reading this. Now, before we move on to some more fraud, let me explain the implications of this. The implications of Fannie Mae's decision ripple far beyond the immediate parties involved and the reason is, guys, is because this is showing Fannie Mae is enforcing things, right? It doesn't matter if we have all these fraud laws and if we have all these laws, if there's no enforcement. We still see, for example, short-term rentals. We still see short-term rentals operating illegally in places like New York, Las Vegas, and Dallas. If there is no enforcement, it does not matter. So big round of applause for Fannie Mae for doing something about the fraud that is prevalent in the mortgage market. Good job, Fannie Mae. I hope to see more to come. For title insurers, the endorsement of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac is not just a badge of honor, it's a critical seal of approval that underscores their viability in the U.S. mortgage market. So if you're a title company and you don't have approval to do Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac loans, you're probably just laundering money at that point. These entities play a pivotal role by buying, guaranteeing, and securitizing conforming loans, thereby ensuring liquidity in the housing financial system. The sidelining of Riverside and Madison thus not only casts a pall over their future, but also sends shockwaves through the industry, signaling a potential seismic shift in the landscape of title insurance. Lenders might now compel borrowers to seek alternative insurers, a move that could realign market shares and redefine competitive dynamics. Okay, so we got trusted title companies now whose one job is to make sure that the title's perfectly legitimate is now committing fraud. But that's not all, you guys. We also, and this hurts me, we also have elected officials that are committing mortgage fraud as well. And I'm going to tell you guys again, there's no reason to do that. These people already have money. They already have success. They have clout. They have whatever they want. Why are they throwing away their reputation and their career to commit mortgage fraud? Why?
Two trials and guilty verdicts on 3 of 4 total charges against her. Will Marilyn Mosby face time in prison?
Now at 11 o'clock, we are in your corner breaking down what we know about the next steps now for the one-time Baltimore City State's Attorney.
Y'all, a Baltimore prosecutor, an attorney that goes after criminals for breaking the law, has now been convicted of breaking the law. What kind of world do we live in? I mean, geez Louise, why are they doing this? Take a listen to this article. See what happened. Ex-top Baltimore prosecutor Marilyn Mosby is convicted of mortgage fraud after using bogus COVID hardship claim to raid her retirement funds and buy a Florida vacation home. When things get hard, you guys, people start cutting corners. That's what you see here. A few bullet points and then we'll move on. Baltimore's former top prosecutor. So she was like the best of the best, okay? Marilyn Mosby was found guilty on Tuesday of 1 count of mortgage fraud for lying on financial documents. She was acquitted in the second mortgage. Now, Mosby was previously convicted of 2 counts of perjury in a separate criminal trial that took place in November. She has not been sentenced in that either. I mean, you guys, the thing is like these officials are human beings, you know, and because they're human beings, we need more safeguards in place so someone doesn't have a bad day and wrongfully convict someone. You know what I'm saying? You guys get me on that? Like judges and prosecutors, like we need them okay so they don't have a bad day and just spit their wrath on people. I mean, imagine what was going on in that woman's mind to be such a hypocrite. Imagine that. I mean, how do you live like that? It's just, you guys, the fraud is completely out of control. And you guys, like I told you, fraud is no joke. Not only is there no statute of limitations until it has been discovered, if she's convicted, and again, don't do this. If she's convicted, she faces a maximum sentence of 30 years in federal prison. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, most fraud when it comes to consumers and mortgages has to do with occupancy fraud. If you're going to say to a lender, you're going to live in a house, you must live in a house. Now you can convert it eventually to a rental. I think the minimum is you have to live there for 1 year. But if you're blatantly lying and you're saying you're going to purchase a primary residence, but really it's an investment property, that's mortgage fraud. Now, the reason why people do that is the financing is way better when it comes to your primary residence versus a non-owner occupied investment property. So you have a lower down payment, lower interest rate, generally lower fees if it's your primary versus a rental. So people don't want to pay those extra fees and therefore they lie and perjurize themselves. And if you guys really want to dig into the occupancy fraud, guys, take a look at this paper. It will be linked in my description. This is owner occupancy fraud and mortgage performance. Now, basically, here's a summary. Occupancy fraud has been suggested as a contributor to the housing bubble. And that's why we're talking about fraud, you guys. That fraud is coming to a stop because it's now being exposed. We show it was pervasive and remains present. Fraudulent investors, that's the big one. Fraudulent investors accounted for an outsized share of defaults in the bust and pose a risk should prices decline. So what this is saying is the people that committed fraud, specifically occupancy fraud, are mostly investors. And the moment that prices, it's crazy that's from January. And it's like, hey, if prices go down, so you see how they're already starting to start mentioning it more and more and more, like, hey, prices are going to go down. They haven't gone down yet. You know, overall, they have gone. By the way, if you want information on the housing market crash, just pull up San Francisco. San Francisco median sales price is now under January 2020, as his Birmingham. Go to Birmingham, Alabama. Now, New Orleans is close. New Orleans had a slight bump up from in January. But you guys, the housing market right now is incredibly splintered. You have to really look through the cracks because not all markets are showing that. It's specific markets. But one thing that is happening in every market is fraud. And once that music stops, that party shuts down fast. And everyone that committed it will be eventually exposed. But the problem is, guys, is the damage was already done. The real estate bubble is here now. And not only is fraud in every state, in every city in the US, fraud is also spiraling out of control, mortgage fraud, across the nation as well. Equifax Canada, economic pressure has fraud and auto theft on the minds of Canadians. This is a recent report, you guys, from February 27th. I mean, this is crazy, you guys. So I think 76% of Canadians surveyed believe financial hardships may increase the likelihood of people committing fraud. So you see it right here, okay? So when things get hard, when there are financial hardships, when things change, and people still want to keep that comfort bubble that was fake. The comfort bubble was fake. It was because of lockdowns. It was because of money printing. It was because of stimulus. Don't forget that. That wasn't real. You want to know what's real, especially if you're a youth? Hard work, discipline, having goals and conquering them, making good decisions based on fundamentals. That's real. What's not real is the government printing money and depositing it into my checking account. That's not real. And, you know, these people that are suffering because they still want that gold watch and the Escalator, whatever, right? We still want to drink champagne. Those are the people the most likely to commit fraud. And when you really think about it, I mean, think about how much someone is shooting themselves in the foot. I mean, do they really want to fight a case? Do you really want to spend your time in prison? I don't think so. You guys, a lot of times what people should be doing instead of committing fraud, rebudget. Instead of going out to eat every night, go out to eat once a week, right? Rebudget. Don't commit fraud.
Investigating an elaborate scheme.
2 detectives come to my door. They said, well, you've been scammed for your house.
Victims across Ontario signed up for a mortgage they never wanted.
I'm going to tell you, the more and more these con artists get desperate, the more and more they're not going to care who people are that they take advantage of. The biggest category at risk is the elderly. The elderly don't even know about AI, half of them, right? So you're going to continue to hear stories, and you're going to continue to see the elderly continuously get taken advantage of. They still let people knock on their door and they welcome them in. People don't sell things door to door anymore. If you get a knock on the door and someone's trying to sell something, use your right, exercise your right to say you're not interested. It's okay to say that you're not interested, okay? So say it with me. I'm not interested. Kick rocks. Now, I will include this in the link, you guys, the 10 common scams that target seniors and how to avoid them. So it's not really going to go into only mortgage fraud, but you guys, there's so much fraud. They even have AI-powered scams for elderly. I mean, who are these people and why don't they care? And another one you got to watch out for is these reverse mortgage scams. And let me end there, you guys. Let me end on talking about reverse mortgages. Now, personally, I don't like reverse mortgages. I can see, because I've been doing this for so long and I've been helping consumers so long, I can see very rare situations to where a reverse mortgage is good, but overall I think it's horrible because most people don't understand what it even is. A reverse mortgage is something that is basically a loan you can give to an elderly person where they no longer have to make mortgage payments, but they lose all of their equity. And there's a lot of gimmicks in them. So again, just be careful. My point is be careful. The fraud is everywhere and you can't trust anyone. And if you want to trust someone, you want to trust me, for example, that's fine. But verify. And that's one of the reasons why I have the links. I want you guys to verify what I'm saying. But more importantly, I want you to take care of yourselves. Part of the way to take care of yourself is not to be paralyzed in fear. It's to understand the dangers out there and how to avoid them. And that's really what I'm after, guys. So hopefully these videos are empowering you. Hopefully you're learning about what's going on behind the scenes. And other than that, guys, if you're out there investing in real estate, you already know I wish you luck. And I hope you win.